Hey Pioneers, it's Dr. Tamplin with TWU Academic Coaching, and I'm coming at you with 7 steps that you should do daily to successfully navigate your transition into your new online learning reality. Now, some of you may be online learning veterans, and that's great. Hopefully the steps that I cover here are steps that you already implement to be successful in your online classes. Others of you may be online learning novices, and that's great too. If you're here, you'll be learning new strategies to use in order to be successful in your online classes for the rest of the semester. Because I like acronyms, we're going to use the word pioneer in order to help us map out these 7 steps. Let's start with the letter P. P is for plugging in. Now, showing up is half the battle regardless of whether you're in an online class or a face-to-face class. But how you show up in an online class is different. You show up by plugging into your computers, your internet, and then your Canvas, email, and Blackboard. So you're going to want to make sure that all of your computers and internet are up to date and accessible, and that when you get into your Canvas and Blackboard, you have access to all of your coursework, all of your course materials, and if you don't, you email your professors right away. I suggest that you plug into your Canvas, Blackboard, and emails at least once a day for 4 to 5 days out of the week. Once you're plugged in, you're going to want to move to I. Identify your task for each course. The easiest way to do this is by looking at your announcement pages in Canvas or Blackboard and looking at your emails. You may also want to look at your syllabi, but be careful to make sure that you're looking at the most updated syllabi so that you're not operating on the wrong dates. As you look at the task, I recommend you using a piece of paper and a pen or your smartphone to create a list of tasks for each class. Once your list is created, then you want to move on to O, organize your task. Organizing your task can be really useful for alleviating any stress that you may be feeling and for preventing you from feeling any overwhelm about the amount of work that must be done. I suggest you organize your task by the day that it's due, the ease of the assignment, and the time for completion. And then I suggest that you work on things that are due sooner, that are the easiest, and that are the least time consuming first. That way you leave yourself time to focus on some of your harder projects that are not due for a couple days. You may find that as you're working on just organizing your task and getting acquainted with being an online student, that you may have some feelings of overwhelm, fatigue, and a lack of motivation show up. And I want you to remember that N stands for normalizing these feelings. It is okay to feel overwhelmed, fatigued, lacking motivation, or restless, or anything else in this new reality. This is a change for all of us, and it's nothing that any of us signed up for. But since we're here, we now have to develop coping strategies and techniques that'll help us allow some space for care for ourselves and others as we go through our classes. I suggest doing activities that put your mind at ease, such as taking walks, taking breaks, taking naps, and maybe you want to try a 3-minute mindful breathing exercise. Anything that is going to help you to calm your mind, your body, and your spirit as you start to work on your assignments. And then we move to E. Enter into your workspace or your work zone or your workflow. You do this by eliminating all distractions. Now that may be easier for some of us and it may be harder for others, but you want to minimize as many distractions as you can so that you can focus on all of your work at hand. Now, this means turning off your cell phone or at least putting it on vibrate. It means closing out of all of the tabs on your web browser, and it may also mean being in constant communication with your friends, families, roommates, and anyone else that you may share time and space with so that you can have all the time you need to focus on your studies. Then we move to the next E, eat and take breaks. Now, I put take breaks in with eat because the first two things that go out of the window when we start working, particularly on our computers and our cell phones, is eating and taking breaks. But this is detrimental to your success in the classroom and for the rest of the semester. If you don't eat, your brain will not have enough fuel to be able to get through your assignments, let alone successfully retain the information. Also, although taking breaks sounds a bit counterintuitive, the more that you can take brief breaks, the more you give your brain time to rest and recover so that you can retain your information and move forward to learn new information. And then finally, we move to R, review. Now, people often hear the word review and thinks that it simply means to reread what you've already read. And while rereading is a step in the process, it is not the only way that you want to review. As you review the work that you have done, you will want to rewrite your notes, organize your notes, and study your notes in a couple of ways. Now, when I come to the topic of note taking, I will talk more in depth about ways that you can take notes and that you can review your notes to help you retain the information. But for now, remember that if you can teach the information to someone else, you have retained the information. And really, teaching information is a really useful way of reviewing the information because the more that you say it, the more that you'll start to internalize it. Okay, that's it for today. Hopefully these 7 steps will be helpful to you. Let me know if you have any questions, any comments, or any concerns. And we'll provide my email in the link so that you can get a hold of me. And I hope that the rest of this week is full of great study times, some breaks, and a lot of self-care as we move forward with the rest of the semester.